how do you keep a level of focus going into Sunday? Because it's going to be kind of circus-like.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, I think, it's just, this whole year has been unique, right? Because there's just been, just the loss of Caitlin, obviously, and Kate, and Gabby, and Sharon, and Molly, and Lisa, and Jenny, right? So there's always been a lot of firsts, a lot of different types of situations, right, that we're navigating. So this is one of them, but I think embracing it, I feel like what I've shared with the team is, the game is the game, right? And that's where we just have to really enjoy the opportunity of the game, regardless of getting to celebrate Caitlin. When that would occur, we were going to play this game. So I think I'm just trying to keep them focused on the opportunity we have with that. And then when that's done, right, then we can celebrate, Caitlin. Easier said than done, but I think we visited about it, and just kind of kept it more matter of fact. Mostly is just getting to the actual day and seeing if, everybody can keep staying in their lane.
USC is, obviously ranked 4th in the country. You look through a lot of the stats, I'm sure a lot of the teams that you play, there's a stat or two that you can point out and say, oh, this team's not real good at that. There's not many of those for USC. How do you go about, game planning for a team when there's not a certain stat or two that really stands out that you can kind of focus on?
Yeah, it's, they're just, they're really good. This whole, conference, has a lot of great teams in it, top to bottom, but UCLA and USC, what they, brought in to it this year is a whole lot of terrific stats, right, and terrific players. And not just one player, right? You think of Lauren Betts, but on UCLA, you think of Kiki on their team, you think of, JuJu, right? But they have their Kiki, right? They have their Kennedy Smith. They have, Rhea Marshall. I mean, they have, Olhoffen, she's was tremendous at Oregon State, but she hasn't hit all the threes that she used to hit there, but she does so much for them. So you just kind of have to focus on what I want to continue improving on with us, because we got to keep progressing in the areas that I've seen growth in, or things that aren't quite as up to par. So we have our game plan that we're going to try to slow, but I think a lot of it just needs to be like, okay, they're doing a great job defensively. What are some of the areas we've come up short? What do I have to make sure we look a little better in when we're facing them? So I try not to look so much at all of their, glorious and shiny statistics, is I know, their defense. I mean, wow, look at that. 30% holding people to 2 field goals. I think 25% on 3-point shooting in the league. I mean, that's crazy good, right? So very aware of all of that, but trying to focus on, the things that we have to improve, but I also think the things that we've been doing well. So we got kind of our game plan going, with how we're going to try to counter what they can do athletically, offensively, and then offensively what I think we're going to need to do to try to make scoring, more effective for us.
Jen, I want to be careful how I phrase this. I know that, obviously you knew Caitlin was special when she was here, and the good old days are the good old days.
Right.
But a year later, being a head coach, is there any different layer of perspective to how great that era of this team was? Yeah,
I think what's interesting is Caitlin's career as a whole, but then the 2 runs, to the Dallas Final Four and then to the Cleveland Final Four. Even after the Dallas Final Four, you get back and it was really, such a blessing. And, I always talk to Gino or see him at clinics, how tired that they are, because, you get to play till the very last day, right? So then you go recruiting pretty quickly. So you don't really have a whole lot of time to unpack it, because now you're trying to capitalize on it, and how can we, keep the standard? Well, then we go into the next year and it's a crazy run with all the excitement and the question, is she coming back? Is she going pro? And the scoring title, and then it just grew and grew. And so I kind of have a sense of all of that and the management. But then, we got blessed and got to another Final Four. And then, Lisa really, to my knowledge, and she's my best friend, she really didn't have an end date of retirement. But then she decided a bit later. So then when she made that decision, I actually did not unpack at all that last Cleveland run. Then it became all about, boy, look at what's ahead of us, and look at, all the new things that I now need to do, get to do, and so forth. So long-winded, I really haven't sat down and gone really reflective. And I think Lisa will tell you that's what she's enjoyed most about retirement. She's probably actually looked at those photo books that they made. I think our Daily Iowan made a really cool photo book. Des Moines Register made photos of Caitlin. I have them on my desk. I have not one time opened it. Not because I don't want to, but it's just like, boy, I'm going to do that later, hopefully 5-10 years down the road. There's just so much in the now. But collectively, yeah, what a ride. And I look at this with our team as like how, these kids who didn't get to play with her, they still get to be part of all of that. That's what it felt like at the end, right? For Hannah and Sid, it was just kind of like the crowds and the attention. So really using it positively for them and just getting to be part of another moment. So I'm just forever blessed that I got to be part of her ride, and she'll always be part of us. Just like I've said before, Michael Jordan will forever be Carolina Blue. Caitlin will forever be Hawkeye Black and Gold.
Caitlin's always obviously been self-aware at what people are talking about and what storylines have developed. Knowing that her presence was probably going to hang over this season to a certain degree, either informally or formally, what was her kind of message to particularly the players who were coming back this year to kind of say, hey, this is a chance to write your own story?
Yeah, I think she just, whenever she's been back for the ring ceremony or when she's, pops in, it's just like, she's always just like, just be you. You don't have to be us, right? And she was saying that when she was a player, like each year, right? When we would, after the freshman year, the sophomore year, after the Final Four year, I think she'll tell you she was unsure we could do that again in graduating Monica and McKenna, right? So that's just been her matter-of-fact message, Hawkeye pride, and really she tries to get them to, really kick butt and you're not measuring up to what that was. You're just trying to be, what your version of the team could be, which certainly matches my message. So she's, Caitlin, Kate, they check in with me often, all the time, and so they're definitely with us, and I think the team senses that.
That's what I was going to ask you. Do you hear from her a lot?
Yeah, the relationship of player coaches, when they go, they evolve into the friendship, right? That particular group, you just went through so much together. So yeah, like Caitlin will call me out of the blue, Kate, and just like any friends, when the chips are down, they're there, when everybody else, they're always there for the big ones too, but I think everybody knows, it's the people you hear from when it's raining sideways. So they'll forever be there on the court, off the court stuff. So they've been consistent with that, even I'll get little messages even in the summer. Yo, coach, how's it going? All the things. So yeah, they've been great. Sharon Goodman comes back, all of them. So we're pretty fortunate with that. But Caitlin's she's definitely been consistent. She's, running the world, right? A-lister, all that, but she's, still Caitlin, confident, yes, but always consistent and the Hawkeye through and through, and really, really fun.
When you see some of those things, like she's with Taylor Swift and doing this, what do you think when you say, do you get a good laugh out of it?
Yeah, I just think, when I think of that is, just the trajectory of the great ones, right? She's just a great one. Jordan, Kobe, the Tyrazis, right, or whatever, Serena Williams, these treks of the greatest ever that will forever be known. And, she's just been one of us, right? So I just think of the coolness of how everything coincides. Like she has been wearing a little Kansas City Chiefs jersey since she was, 5, right? So that whole love, right, of her sports and competing, being who she was when she was 5 and feisty and fiery, as she's now evolved, right, into who she always was, right? You guys covered her so closely. She could, when she started getting into the national media, she could talk about Kelsey, she could talk about Mahomes, she could talk about tennis, she could talk about pro golf, right? And very, very, intelligently. But the fact that she loved the Chiefs, which kind of started that, and then to date Taylor Swift, who happens, so that's a genuine connection to the Chiefs, right? Which makes that probably introductory, meeting even, cool when she's beginning to be the A-lister. And then just the fact that he happens to date Taylor and then she ends up in that. I mean, it's part of that story how for Caitlin, she's just always operated in a different realm. And it just keeps going. So I think it's her normal. It always has been. I mean, you watched her play and can ask anybody who recruited her, that one's got something. But no, would anybody have said she's going to change the needle? You couldn't do that, but we all knew she was going to be an All-American. But I think that's the thing about the people gossipy parts of this whole ride for her. She just has always been in a different realm. So I think that's the serendipitous part of it. To me, I love the fact that the Kansas City Chiefs are involved, just with all the hoopla, because she just stays grounded. If she's the same. She is the same. I tell that to people, with all the things that have happened, she is that same confident personality that came in, is the same. She'll wanna win a championship for the Fever. And she'll say it in the opening press conference, and she's gonna work like crazy, and she's gonna have a lot of fun along the way.
We did an interview this offseason, and she was talking about, Caitlin was talking to her about the first time she's gonna come back and that she may try to sit on the bench.
Oh, Caitlin, or, yeah.
Caitlin. If we know anything about Caitlin, she's definitely gonna be calm and normal and not draw a scene to her during the game. Just how much do you feel like that can kind of be another kind of energy in the building, just having her here and having her be herself?
Yeah, I think it'll be, great energy. That's why everybody is in a frenzy, right, to come. But I also think that what's cool is our fan base, they didn't know really at the very beginning when these season tickets were when they went on sale and then they sold out, if it was going to be this year or when, right? That they continue to want us to succeed with us, the core, through the disappointments, the what ifs, know it's going to be a little bit of a ride. But then when they get to have arguably one of the greatest ever to get to be part of that, I think that's what's really going to be fun, is because they get that moment again with her in just a different way. So I think the energy will be really, really great, and it's deservedly so. I'm so excited to celebrate her because, she's just like every kid that dreams that's good. When they look up and she would see Megan's jersey, that's what everybody wants to shoot for when you get to a certain, echelon, which certainly she got to in that freshman year. And then it's not what she played for, but when you get your jersey retired at any level, it's the ultimate. And so I'm just so happy that I was part of it then, and I get to be part of it now.
You've seen this building at its most frenzied for Caitlin, especially this last couple of years. What do you think it's going to be like in May when you have a WNBA team?
Yeah, I think that'll be really, really fun. That concept was talked about, after last season when we saw South Carolina. They went back to play Puerto Rico, I think, and so we thought, this would be pretty good, or all the minds that be, right? I think it's going to be great. I think what a great concept to bring a pro team, to, their home base. So that'll be really fun for our fans. But I think it'll be a blast. I think, I think it will be a pretty fun, another frenzied level. It'll be early, right? It's a preseason game, so it'll be a little bit more, relaxed in the sense of what we felt when she's hitting the shot against Indiana. But I just think it'll be a pretty awesome opportunity for fans to get her see her again in Carver, which, nobody thought we'd ever get to see that again, right? So I think that's going to be really cool. I'm appreciative to our administration and all the folks that worked on that, because that's a really neat thing for our program.
Maybe this is a dumb question. I'm curious to
Yeah.
hear your thoughts on this. Going up against JuJu, I mean, you had Caitlin for 4 years, obviously a prolific scorer, the most prolific scorer. You got to see how defenses tried to play her in practice. You got to try to maybe mess with her and see if you get her off balance. Is there anything that you learned, what defenses did or what you tried to do in practice, that maybe translates over to a prolific scorer like JuJu?
Yeah, I mean, you have your different schemes that you can try, but you have to remember that even on their off nights, they impact the game so greatly. I mean, when Caitlin would not have a great shooting night, what was it, usually 23 and 8 rebounds and maybe 5 or 6 and, okay, we'll say 7 turnovers. But I mean, that's still impacting the game, right? So usually it works for a while, right? And then if it works for the whole game, in my humble opinion, they got into their head, or Caitlin got into their heads a little bit, and then you start trying to force it, and you want to get it, right? And not necessarily for her own gain, but it's like that, it's not working. And I think any great scorer would tell you that, is the scheme definitely starts out, and then if you just stay a little cold, then all of a sudden you almost forget that they're trying to double, or the help's coming from the weak side and not the strong side or whatever. So I think when they really get thwarted, it kind of has to be a little bit of a perfect storm if they're really not the impactful part of the game, because they're just so good. I mean, I've watched a ton on JuJu, and she can be off a little bit and think, oh, then you look at the box score and you're like, oh, reminds me of Caitlin sometimes, but she still has a lot. So we have the things we're going to try to do, borrowed from some others, look back on what slowed Caitlin, but they also have, Kiki, man, they have Kennedy Smith. I mean, for a freshman, man, she's such great size and can hit it. The bigs, the Howell that comes off the bench, she's from the Idaho. I remember watching her. So they got a lot of weapons. So you have to be careful. You got to kind of pick your poison.
They've got a lot of size with Ray Marshall and Kiki. Do you anticipate staying with the lineup with Hannah and Sid, or are you going to try to match?
Yeah, well, I think we have to see how it flows, like sometimes you can be undersized and it's just fine. The boards, you kind of maybe get a call when you need it over the back, they're not quite as aggressive, or sometimes it's like, holy buckets, get everybody over 6 foot in, and so I think I just got to kind of see how it rolls. But yeah, I think you'll see, different lineups, combinations, to kind of keep them off, because we do have size with Addie, and you can go a little, Addie and Hannah go a little bit bigger again, but even Hannah's still not, they're coming at you 6'4", 6'3". We don't quite, always have that ability to match up perfectly, but you can get close. So I'll see how it flows as we go, but I wouldn't be surprised if that does happen.
The plan is to start with the same lineup, though?
That's as we go now, but I still got 2 days left.
What was the motivation to bring Randy Henderson onto your coaching staff, and what has she done to impact the coaching staff as a former head
Yeah,
coach?
well, I mean, I always, I was a longtime assistant at my alma mater and longtime assistant with the leader I believed in. And so I really like that. I like that we have Abby Stamp on staff. She played here. It's a testament to how much she loved it here. Catherine Reynolds used to be our DOBO until she went to become the commissioner of the Women's Professional Softball League. But there's just, without saying anything, when you have 2 products that stay on your staff. And so Randy, was, had a lot of success at the smaller levels. But when you coach and formulate teams, and the culture piece that I think that, we were a part of when she was a player. So it was a really natural fit for me, because it's nice to know people that you hire. It doesn't have to be, certainly it can't always be the case, but she just is so quality in all regards. And then obviously she was our first all Big Ten post player. And so I was the post coach, so sliding in a post player who knows the position so well, it was a really easy hire for me. And, I loved her when I coached her, and love her, Duez, he's a Hawk too, her husband. So that was a really great blessing for us.
Cool. Thanks, Jan.
All right, thank you guys, I appreciate it.
Yeah, I mean, I think obviously we're very much focused on the game, but it's also a really cool opportunity to get to celebrate one of our former teammates, and obviously she's accomplished such amazing things, and so I'm happy that we get to be there with her and celebrate her, but also the game is our first priority, and we want to all focus on that.
Sydney and Kylie, what was it like watching your teammate, your friend, turn into this national, most talked about superstar in America in the last 2 years?
I feel like we talk about this all the time, but it's crazy because you don't really realize until you start seeing all the Instagram posts or news lines or like whatever it is, because obviously we know her as a friend and a teammate, so seeing her at that level, it's like kind of just out of this world. But it's crazy. It's awesome to see all the publicity she gets. Obviously she deserves it, and she's worked really hard to where she's at now.
You guys get a good laugh out of some of the stuff.
It's just crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some of it's crazy.
Yeah.
And excessive.
Yes.
But it is funny.
Jane was in here after the Northwestern game saying that her message to you guys is kind of what a moment to take advantage of. And I know both of you guys have been through various days in this program where there's a lot of stuff going on in the air. Just how do you kind of dial in mentally and approach this with kind of a house money type of approach and not maybe get overwhelmed so much by everything that's happening? And not so much you guys, but the young players on the team, the ones that haven't dealt with these kinds of scenes that much.
Yeah, I think just continuing to tell them that this is just another Big Ten game. Like, we play out in front of a sold-out crowd almost every home game, and it's no different. But just to stay focused on the game, and there's going to be a lot of outside noise and a lot of things going on, which is really great and cool. But obviously we want to use that to our advantage and use the crowd and everything that we can to beat USC, and that's going to be our main focus.
How big of a booster resume-wise would a Sunday be?
I mean, it would be great to have that win, obviously. USC's a great team. I think the Big Ten and overall, all teams are really, really good, and you've seen that through all of the games, the wins and losses of each team. So yeah, just getting that win under our belt would be really nice, and I think we have a really good game plan, so yeah, it'll be fun.
As you guys prepare for USC, curious to hear both of your answers, just kind of what stands out about them. Obviously, fourth ranked in the country, there's a lot of things that stand out, but just curious to hear what stands out most to you guys.
Yeah, I think obviously JuJu is an incredible player, and I think we kind of talked about it a little bit. Like, Caitlin's been on our team for 3 years, and we watched her take some insane shots that were contested, and the defense could literally do nothing about it, and JuJu's going to hit some good shots, and you just have to live with that. We're going to make it as tough as possible, but besides JuJu, I think obviously Kiki is really great, and they have some good underclassmen, but they're a great overall team. They don't just have one or two players. They can all play.
Sid, I was going to ask, maybe the styles don't exactly line up, but just the star power and whatnot. Is there any similarities to scouting? It's kind of like scouting yourselves from last year?
I don't know. I didn't really think about that, to be honest. I don't think you can compare anyone necessarily to Caitlin. I think she's a generational player, but obviously JuJu is incredible, and she's brought so much light to women's basketball, but she makes some insane shots too that are very contested. So obviously she's a very key player to this game, and making her take tough shots is super important. But in comparison to last year, I'm not quite sure. I don't know. I'm not totally sure on that.
How much of these last two games can help the mood within the team?
Yeah, I think even before these last two games, I think even in the practices and the games that we've played, even though we might have lost them, we've had the same mentality every single day, which I think is what strengthened us. We've really, really stayed together, trusted in our work, and we knew that, like Coach Jay would say, like the shore was near. And I think that also obviously builds up confidence having these wins now, and we needed those. But I mean, every single day at practice, we haven't let down, even in times when there was struggle, which is also just a huge testament to our team and the culture that we have.
I know in a couple months you guys are going to be done, won't be here anymore, won't necessarily be your Carver-Hawkeye Arena anymore, but how do you feel about sharing this place with the WNBA team, you're coming out. Are you applying for a media pass so you can?
We might have to.
We'll sneak in.
Yeah. No, that is super cool. I think it's obviously very cool for Caitlin and Hawk fans, but this arena is just going to be bumping. I'm sure I saw some tickets were out of this world expensive. So yeah, we might have to get some media passes to sneak in.
Kylie, if you decide on your future, are you not coming back or coming back, or maybe you're no idea?
Yeah, I have no idea what's going to lie ahead. I don't know what's lying ahead tomorrow or the next day, so it's all in the air on what I'm going to do.
Kylie, if we know Caitlin, I'm sure she's going to be sitting and being very calm and not
Very calm.
not being rowdy at all. I mean, her presence in game, I mean, I guess she was at the Drake game, but her being here and, you know, how much can that maybe be another boost in game if it's close and tight and all that?
Yeah, I think wherever Caitlin's at, she brings the energy, obviously. So it'll be exciting. Wherever she's at, I think she lights up a room with her energy, vocal, communication, whatever it might be. But yeah, it'll be really fun. I think it just adds another level of excitement for this weekend. And it's obviously, like we said, the game's the first priority, but this is a huge weekend for her as well. And it just is, I mean, it just shows like the level of hard work that she got to and where she's at now. And yeah.
Did you guys hear her at the Drake game?
I didn't even know she was there.
I knew she was there, but I don't really hear anyone.
Yeah, but then I see videos and pictures, I'm
Yeah.
like, oh, makes sense.
Yeah.
I mean, if she's sitting courtside, I feel like it's going to be hard to tune her
Not
out.
see her, yeah.
Yeah. We'll have to see. I don't know.
For both of you guys being, you know, some of the top key players coming back from last year, whether it was formally or informally, what was Caitlin's message to kind of everybody who was going to be back this year in terms of passing the torch, carrying it on, and knowing that she was, you know, still going to be from afar some part of this season? What was her message to you guys, mainly the people who were on last year's team?
Yeah, I think she just believed in all of us so greatly and what our potential could be. And I always remember she would like to people who were playing behind someone or taking the next step up. She always was like, you don't have to be, like Addie does not have to be Monica to be great. Like I don't have to be Kate to be great. Like yes, we play the same position and maybe play similarly, but we bring a lot of different aspects to the game, and you don't have to be someone other than yourself to be great and reach your potential. So I definitely will always remember that. But she just brought such a fire and passion to the game that I really enjoyed.
I know that Coach Henderson might not work with you guys individually, but what has she brought to the coaching staff in her first year?
Yeah, I think she's been great. I think she really went into the program very seamlessly. I think both coaches, it's been great to have her. She always is giving a little comment here and there, and she's also calm but very driven as well. So like the comments she gives you are, she just knows you as a player, each player individually, and like what works well for you. And that's helped me a lot throughout this season. Like she'll give me a little comment and on the sideline, and that's helped me a lot.
Sydney, Caitlin's obviously not here. You guys are still getting mobbed for autographs after every single game. You guys are essentially like celebrities. How special is that to know that every time you walk off the court, your autograph is wanted, your selfie is wanted? Like people really value and appreciate all you guys.
It's so cool. I mean, I know when I was a little girl, like I looked up to older basketball players, whether it was at the high school or college or professional level, and you know, you think they're the coolest person ever, and just the fact that you get to make a little fan's day is super important. And you know, that just shows the culture of this program. Like we want to give back to people who give to us, and they support us so much. So being able to take some time out of our day to sign those autographs is really important to us.
Cool, guys. Thanks. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.